All right, red light's on. All right, so here's my story about grades. There is a guy who lives down the street from a middle school, right? Every time it snows, the kids come down the street and hit his house with snowballs. Guy can't stand this, right? Really, really bothers him. Comes up with an idea. He says, all right, it snows. He runs up the street, sees the kids coming down, meets them while they're not quite at his house yet, and he says, kids, listen, it snowed. I know you're going to hit my house with snowballs. I really want you to hit the house as hard as you can with as many snowballs as you can. Kids are like, this guy's gotten hit with too many snowballs himself, right? Something's wrong with him. But okay, fine. The guy says, look, for every snowball that hits my house, I'm going to pay you $1. They're like, wow, this is even better. So they go up to his house, hit it with snowballs. He pays them out. Great, they go on. Now this is a New England winter. As we know, the snow is going to last all week. So Tuesday, same thing happens. Kids coming down the street. He runs up, he meets them. Did a great job yesterday hitting my house with snowballs. Can you do it again today? Because they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. He's like, all right, listen, today I'm going to pay you 75 cents for every snowball that hits the house. Kids are like, oh, okay, fine. And they hit the house with snowballs. He's got a bunch of change, pays them out, go on their way. Wednesday, same thing. Only pays him 50 cents. Thursday, same thing, can only pay him 25 cents. Friday, a lot of snow in New England, right? Friday, it's still around. He says, sees him coming, hey, you've done a great job all week. You really hit my house with snowballs. It's fantastic. Today, the snow's kind of like melted. It's got all that kind of soot looking and poop and dog pee is in it. Like you can really make some good snowballs and really like hit the house, right? They're going to be like, almost like ice balls. You're going to really be able to like whale the house. You've done such a great job all week. I can't afford to pay you anything else. But like hit the house as hard as you can. And the leader of the middle, there's always a leader, right? Except for this group of middle schoolers, and says, well, on Monday you paid us $1. Every day you've been paying us 25 cents less. And now today, Friday, you want us to hit your house for free? You are out of your mind. And they walk away and they never hit his house again. What happened? He tricked them. What did he do?
Reverse psychology.
Say more.
They were doing something on their own, and then they started to get paid to do it, and then once they weren't being paid, they didn't want to do it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's exactly it. That's the story. They were doing something they didn't mind doing, then they got paid to do it, and then when they were no longer being paid to do it, they didn't want to do it anymore. Now let's throw some counseling or some psychology terms in there. When you like doing something just because you like inside of you doing it, what is that called? What kind of motivation is that? Intrinsic. Somebody said it. Very good. Intrinsic motivation. When you're paid to do something, that's coming from the exterior, outside of you. That's called what kind of motivation? Extrinsic motivation. So let's review the story. Intrinsically, they liked hitting this guy's house with snowballs. He put an extrinsic motivation on top of that. They like doing it, plus he's paying them to do it. Interestingly, when we take that extrinsic motivation away, they're no longer getting paid on Friday. We would think, well, maybe they would still do it just because they like to do it. But when we take the extrinsic motivation away, there's no motivation left whatsoever. Now, why am I telling you the story? How does it relate to the course and my disliking of grades? That's the thing I love about Wheelock is you've all taken human development. When the child shows up for the first day of nursery school or pre-K or kindergarten or first grade, how much stuff have they learned? What can they do? At 4, 3 or 4. They know their name. They know colors. Numbers, maybe how to count to 10. Maybe letters. Think about bigger stuff that they've learned to do. Since the time they flopped out of their mom's womb, right? What are some other things that they've been able to do? Walking. Talking in general. What else? Playing. Socializing. Friends' names. their room, things like that, right? You ever see a kid in the car, he knows a lot of things that are going around, right? There's a great country song, guy's driving in the car, and he has to slam on the brakes, and this kid is in the back with the chicken nuggets, and they fly all over the place, and then he goes, my 4-year-old said a 4-letter word, and he was like, oh, where'd you learn to talk like that? And the kid goes, I've been watching you, right? So they've learned and they've picked up lots of things. Nobody was necessarily motivating them to do it. Nobody was giving them extrinsic motivation all the time for doing this. Yeah, they might have gotten love and attention from a parent, but they probably got that regardless of what they were doing, right? They have an intrinsic love of learning, and they come to school with that intrinsic love of learning. And then what do we do with it? We start giving them happy faces or sad faces, and then we give them S's and U's, and then we give them A's, B's, C's, and D's. And the problem with all that A's and praise is that it's an extrinsic motivation on something that already had an intrinsic motivation. And as a result, it can actually kill the intrinsic motivation that was there. Because if you ask the typical middle school or high schooler what to do in school today, what are they going to tell you? Nothing. Really, 6 hours of nothing? Yeah, it's mad bull. You didn't do anything. No. You ask a first grader, like, what did you do in school? They're going to tell you, oh my gosh, the person came in with this water table, and then we did this with the caterpillars, and they're going to become butterflies, and we read this book, and then we played on the playground. They love it, but we kill learning for kids because of grading. I got so tired of reading by the time I was finishing my dissertation, so tired of meeting with my professors. I just wanted that dissertation to be done. And then as soon as it was done and it was passed and I had my doctorate, and I did actually take about 6 months where I didn't do anything, reading-wise and work-wise. Then, all of a sudden, I became interested in reading books that I hadn't wanted to read in forever because I wasn't extrinsically motivated anymore. I was actually picking up stuff that I had to read before that I couldn't stand, but now I was doing it because I wanted to do it. We all started our lives wanting to learn. We wouldn't have gotten as far. Everybody walked in here, and everybody's been able to talk and to sit. So you learn these things. I know you can learn these things. Forget about the grades. Do it because it's curious, fascinating to you. If it's not fascinating and curious to you, try to figure out what really would interest you. Where is your intrinsic motivation? Because that's going to help get you through all of this. If you're trying to just do it for extrinsic motivation, you're not going to be happy. But since I imagine you also want your grades, let's look at the assignment package. Oh, one last thing. The whole thing, I've added this, I've never used this before in my syllabus, about ways to help you decide whether to miss class or not. They're in here. Feel free to use it. I actually borrowed it from another professor here, so the ambiguous situations are ones that are usually listed. So anyway, blah, 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 that's all there. If you have to be absent, fill out an absence form. Give it to me the next time you come back in. If you know you're going to miss a class in advance, you can submit the absence form in advance. So let's look at the assignment package. Am I going too fast, too slow? Is this too boring? I find that if we spend a little bit of time, then people have fewer questions. Here you will find all 9 of the journal, this defined and explained with due dates. Also, here's a quiz. Where else would you find all this information? On Moodle, because under the Turnitin assignments, they're all listed in there, along with the dates, along with what you have to do. So if you don't have this, you can just go to Moodle and figure out what you have to do. There's also information on the personal change project, on the group presentation, and then I give you some information and places to go if you're not sure what APA style is. I like APA style. Try to do your papers in APA style, and there's a reference there for how to do that. Talk about writing and counseling. And then we go right into Journal 1. So again, everything that we had already talked about is there, and then we go to Journal 2. I'm going to go ahead and skip all the way into, and you can see how some of these journals are going to be a page. There's just not a lot to do, and others will be a little bit longer. Here's the personal change project. We're going to have an in-class discussion on Tuesday the 24th about what your personal change project will be, because shortly after that, you're going to have to turn in part 1. When do you have to turn in part 1, Todd? October 4th, right? So it's all in here. People will panic between classes when you only see me once a week. And I'm probably, if you send me an email, I may send you a smart aleck answer, like, have you read the assignment pack or the syllabus? Often the answers are in there. Doesn't mean I've occasionally made a mistake, but make sure you've checked, so you can say, I checked the syllabus and assignment pack, and it's not in there. Then I'll. This explains everything you need to do. For right now, just start thinking about a behavior that you might want to change, because it's a 5-week try to change something and a week of looking at what's your baseline. So for example, if you're going to talk about how many cigarettes you smoke a day, you're going to spend a week not trying to change the behavior and just track how often you do it, so that at the end, you can compare back to that first week and say, am I smoking less or more? So now there was a specific question about the dream journal, so I'm going to go ahead and skip right to journal 3. In class, it's going to be Tuesday, October 15th. You want to bring 1, 2, or 3 dreams. Some people have little dream fragments. They don't remember a lot, so I would bring in 3 so that there's enough there to work with. You don't want to just have 1 or 2 sentences. If you have really intense, long dreams, you may have 1 dream. That's enough. You know, just decide on how much information is there. The more information that's there, the more feedback you're going to get. So if you want to make sure that you have enough to write about, make sure you have enough dream material there. So when should you start? If you're the type of person where you don't remember a lot of your dreams, I would start now. Like if you only remember 1 dream